Well, in recent weeks, we told you about our presidential straw poll, our very own, and that is still ongoing at the OAN.com website if you'd like to check that out. But in the meantime, we have something new for you. One American News has commissioned another nationwide election poll. One America's Cameron Kramer discusses the results here and how the 2016 field is shaping up.
The race is definitely on, according to the new OAN poll. One America's data comes from Gravis Marketing, an unbiased, unaffiliated research organization that has provided figures for both Republicans and Democrats. The One America poll surveyed nearly 1,000 total registered voters, with 473 being Republican and 519 being Democrats. Just a reminder that while those national poll results are set in stone, the One America straw poll is still ongoing at the OAN.com website, so log on today to cast your vote. Back to you at the desk.
Back to me and back to break. Up next, an Illinois judge has agreed to delay the murder for hire trial for a former Chicago police officer. More on why that trial was postponed. Also, a 7-month-old boy is missing in Connecticut after his father was seen jumping off a bridge while allegedly holding him during the fall. We have the latest on the search as One America News continues. Some sad news tonight out of Connecticut. Police are searching for the body of a 7-month-old boy after his father jumped off a bridge while allegedly holding the child before he jumped. Authorities received a call from someone saying Tony Moreno had called them and threatened suicide. The caller said they also heard Moreno's baby crying in the background. As for the father's condition, he's reportedly survived this and was upgraded to stable. And they say he is alert and conscious. However, they say the chances of finding the baby alive are slim.
The Middletown Police Department has been able to confirm that a 7-month-old listed as missing did enter the Connecticut River last night. The search for the 7-month-old boy is now classified as a recovery.
Authorities say the investigation is ongoing and the charges will most likely be filed once it is complete. And coming up next, a lot of action in our international headlines. Firefighters battling more than 100 different wildfires across northern Canada. What officials are officially calling the situation there. Also, hundreds are welcoming the Pope back to Ecuador. Those stories and much more after the break. Afghanistan, the scene of several suicide attacks. Taliban militants conducting 2 suicide attacks in Afghanistan's capital, killing 5 people, including 4 attackers. Officials say in the first attack, Taliban forces rammed their vehicle into convoys belonging to NATO and Afghan forces, killing the attacker, wounding 2 people. Hours after that, 3 Taliban attackers raided an Afghan intelligence agency, killing 1 person and injuring another. Authorities described how the Taliban conducted the attack.
As you see, there are 3 gunmen. One drove a motorcycle equipped with explosives and rushed to the building, and another 2 suicide bombers followed. They wanted to launch attacks in this way.
More than 200 Afghan soldiers and officers have been killed in Taliban attacks since June 1st. Thick, heavy smoke blankets large areas of British Columbia right now as firefighters are battling wildfires across the Canadian province. The smoke from the multiple fires came across the border, leading to air quality advisories across western and midwestern areas of the United States. Such thick smoke you can't even see the sky. Fire officials called the situation critical, adding that people evacuated from their homes will not be returning anytime soon. More than 100 fires are burning in northern Saskatchewan province. Following this, too, French authorities are investigating a break-in at a military weapons compound where hundreds of pieces of equipment have gone missing. Officials are unsure how many people were involved here, but they say they broke into the facility by cutting through a fence. This was sometime between Sunday night and Monday morning. Detonators, grenades, plastic explosives, all of that was among the stolen equipment. And as the investigation carries on, France's defense minister has called for a review of all facilities' security and proposals for corrective measures within 2 weeks. Hundreds of thousands of faithful followers followers welcoming Pope Francis back to Ecuador's capital, Quito, for Mass today. The Pope will be giving his second and final open-air Mass in Ecuador before heading to Bolivia and Paraguay for the rest of his week-long trip to South America. On Monday, the 78-year-old pontiff led a service in the city of Guayaquil, where he offered a message of harmony and familial unity. The country's president, Rafael Correa, is expected to be in attendance at today's Mass. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has approved a $2 billion bailout to help bankrupt states pay salaries. According to the reports we've heard, hundreds of thousands of workers have been left unpaid for several months. Government revenue, which depends largely on oil exports, has fallen sharply due to a drop in global oil prices. The country's currency also lost a third of its value. Buhari won elections in March after vowing to fight corruption, which he says has stolen billions from the country. And we will have more of the hour's top stories for you right after this short break. Do keep it here on One America News. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We have been talking a lot about the Confederate flag lately, and now at least we have one decision on what to do about it. South Carolina's state Senate has approved the removal of the Confederate flag from the State House grounds. The measure passed with a 36-3 vote on its third and final reading. Lawmakers applauded efforts being made to take the flag down.
And what we have done is that we have spoken one voice here with unity, and we are not being divisive, and we're not. I told them there's no time for victory laps. There's no time, so there's no winners and losers. We're just trying to end up making certain that we move this state forward.
The bill now heads to the State House, where it must receive a 2/3 majority vote after 3 readings in order to pass. If the House approves the measure, it will go straight to the desk of Governor Nikki Haley, who has pushed for the flag's removal. Dylan Roof, seen there, has been indicted on 9 murder charges plus 3 counts of attempted murder. The 21-year-old was arrested June 18th on suspicion of opening fire at the historic Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston. 9 people were killed because of it, including the church pastor. A federal investigation is now underway. The NTSB says 2 people were on board a small Cessna that crashed into an F-16 fighter jet above South Carolina. While the F-16's pilot did eject to safety, the Cessna's pilot and passenger died in the crash. The F-16 pilot was taken back to Shaw Air Force Base for observation. His condition unclear at this time. Well, in political news, Republican presidential contender Ben Carson is leading the Republican field in book sales. Yes, Carson, a retired neurosurgeon, has sold over 360,000 copies of his book titled One Nation, What We Can All Do to Save America's Future. According to BuzzFeed, the combined sales of 15 books from other Republican candidates since 2010 is just over $250,000. Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee has sold the second highest number of books at nearly 66,000, and Florida Senator Marco Rubio follows that with more than 36,000. Everything is a competition these days, huh? New documents released by a government watchdog group show the IRS transferred millions of tax documents to the FBI, serious tone. In a letter obtained by Judicial Watch via the Freedom of Information Act, Representative Daryl Issa said the documents were being used to target conservative groups specifically. IRS officials, including Lois Lerner, allegedly sought criminal charges for nonprofit groups they thought were pushing political agendas and violating campaign laws. Issa says he and the House Oversight Committee were very troubled by the transfer of these documents. President Obama once again plans to spend his summer vacation on Martha's Vineyard. Obama, along with his wife Michelle and their daughters Sasha and Malia, will head to the island in Massachusetts for about 2 weeks next month. So we're talking about 2 weeks vacation and the importance of that. The $12 million estate boasts 7 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, and views of the Elizabethan Islands. Other amenities include a hybrid basketball and tennis court, as well as an infinity pool. Since he was elected in 2008, Obama and his family have spent part of nearly every summer at the home. Never heard of a hybrid basketball tennis court. Interesting. Coming up next on One America News, a former Toyota executive is set to be released from a Japanese jail, and we'll tell you why she was arrested to begin with. Plus, a Chinese company releases its new high-speed passenger train. How many people can it carry? How fast can it travel? We'll answer those questions up next. And former Toyota executive Julie Hamp is expected to be released from police custody in Japan on Wednesday. She was arrested in June after being accused of illegally bringing painkillers into the country. Customs officials found oxycodone in a package shipped to Hamp from the U.S., and that requires prior government approval. Japanese media reports Hamp will not likely be charged, though, because prosecutors believe there was little criminal intent in the case. She still stepped down from her role as Toyota's first female managing officer last week, and that was 3 months after her arrest. And it is not overnight shipping. But this isn't exactly a normal package either. A high-speed train on its way to Macedonia from eastern China, where a company recently completed its construction. The delivery is the first of several after Macedonian officials ordered trains for the first time since the country declared its independence over 20 years ago. So this is a pretty big deal. The train can carry up to 200 passengers, and it travels at around 100 miles per hour. It is set to arrive in Macedonia in August. A Chicago-based bike-sharing company is expanding memberships, and now it will offer $5 per year memberships for some residents. The program would be for Chicago residents who make less than 3 times the federal poverty level. And the mayor partnered with the Divvy bike service, placing almost 500 stations throughout the city and expanding bike lanes. The Divvy service currently covers almost 90 square miles and serves more than half of the city's population. Chicago officials hope at least 750 low-income residents will sign up for the program. And we bring the tone back down once again because health officials say, and this is shocking, heroin use in the U.S. is on the rise, increasing more than 60% in just over a decade. Overdose deaths also quadrupled between 2002 and 2013. Experts point to a rise in prescription painkillers as a contributing factor. People who are addicted to painkillers are 40 times more likely to abuse heroin, a cheap alternative to the drugs. A report also said heroin use has expanded in groups previously less likely to abuse it, doubling among women, doubling among non-Hispanic white people. The CDC says states should tighten prescribing policies to help fight this heroin epidemic. And there's a new genetic study that is shedding light on the evolution of the centuries-old Black Plague. Researchers at Northwestern University tested a version of the disease in mice, which they say causes only a mild intestinal illness in humans. And basically, their findings suggest that bacteria that causes the Black Plague most likely caused small outbreaks of lung disease for years and years before it actually turned deadly. The study also shows that only minor changes can help a disease develop multiple forms of transmission. And how much does it cost us to harness the wind? Apparently, costs to produce wind energy are nearly 50% higher than previously thought, according to the study by the University of Utah. The study suggested earlier estimates never accounted for a $5 billion government subsidy for wind energy producers, costs of expanding the grid, and backup conventional generators. Now, before the study, onshore wind power was found to be more competitive than nuclear, coal, hydro, and solar power. More than $23 billion worth of wind farms are currently in development. And coming up next on One America News. She's saying there, it feels great to feel a world champion. Thank you, guys. That's what she's saying. If you couldn't hear it, the Women's World Cup champions are back in the U.S. and thousands are celebrating. We have more on their victory tour right after the break. Welcome back. Well, the next time you think you can't possibly finish that big project ahead of schedule, here's a little inspiration. On this day in 1930, construction started on the Hoover Dam. One America's Cameron Kramer has more on the massive project and how workers managed to finish the structure 2 years ahead of schedule.
In the 21st century, construction near the Hoover Dam looks almost futuristic, but it was decidedly more labor-intensive in the 1930s.
Thousands of people gathering in Los Angeles to honor the Women's World Cup champs. The team greeted fans at the LA Live Entertainment Complex next to Staples Center at a free public celebration. This is the team's first U.S. stop since beating Japan 5-2 in the Women's World Cup final in Canada Sunday.
First of all, these ladies behind me, I couldn't do it without you all. Every single one of you. So proud of this team, from the defenders all the way up to the top, from the coaching staff, our support staff, everybody collectively, we got the job done. And I'm so proud to call this my team.
Their win gave America its third Women's World Cup title and its first since 1999. The team is set to make 10 stops throughout the United States as part of its victory tour. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk says engineers are close to figuring out what went wrong with last week's failed mission, a failure he called a big blow to the company. Musk made the comments at a conference in Boston today. Just last week, an unmanned spacecraft bound for the International Space Station exploded shortly after takeoff. Musk says engineers are going over the launch 1 millisecond at a time to pinpoint the exact problem, and that's something that hasn't been easy for them. He said that while engineers are closing in on a theory for the mishap, the problem is a complex one. Game on. Final story. Robot makers in Japan have accepted a challenge from their U.S. counterparts, setting the stage for a giant robot-on-robot battle. Get ready to get in touch with your inner child, because why not? This is a robot duel. U.S.-based company Megabot recently unveiled a 6-ton robot equipped with cannons capable of shooting 3-pound paintballs at over 100 miles per hour. Well, that sounds fun, getting hit with a 3-pound paintball going 100 miles per hour. Hello. Remember that high-speed train, by the way, heading from Macedonia to eastern China in the previous stories? Same speed, 100 miles per hour. Japan, meanwhile, displayed its robot 3 years ago, known as the Curitas. Japan's BattleBot is a bit lighter, but it also features a high-tech targeting system, so it has the precision advantage. No word on when or where the duel will take place, but the two sides will have about a year to make the necessary modifications for battle. I think the key to beating Japan is we get the women to operate our robot work pretty well in the World Cup. That's all. I'm Cassie Leuffen on Twitter at Cassie Leuffen. Thanking you very much for being with us tonight. Good night.
We'll make these dreams come true.